Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Hello and welcome to another Between Takes episode of Missing Frames. I am your host, Shawn Eastridge. We are continuing our Celebrating Superman series. In the months leading up to the release of James Gunn's Superman on July 11th, I will be talking to as many Superman people as I can. It's writers, artists, filmmakers, actors, fans, whoever I can, literally anyone I can think of, anyone who has not blocked me on social media and has not reported me to the authorities. I've already got one interview in the bag that was released last week. That was a conversation with Mark Waid, truly one of the great comic book writers of all time. He wrote Superman Birthright, which is one of my all-time favorite Superman stories. So definitely go check that out if you haven't already. And there is much, much more to come. So stay tuned. Now, in today's episode, I will be chatting with Morgan Siebert, who is the owner of the Super Museum in Metropolis, Illinois. For those of you who don't know, this is one of our country's greatest treasures. I mean, I'm biased. I'm a massive Superman fan. I've been wanting to go to this museum pretty much my whole life. It was a dream location for me, and I finally got the chance to go this past December, and it was everything I could possibly want it to be. If you are a Superman fan, you owe it to yourself to check this place out. The museum was founded by Morgan's father, Jim Hambrick, back in 1993, and it contains what is quite possibly, I don't think there's a larger one. I think this is the largest collection of Superman memorabilia in the world. I'm just going to go ahead and say it, because if there is a larger collection, I have not heard of it. Jim sadly passed away in December, just a little bit before I got to go to the museum. I'm really sad I didn't get to meet him, but it's really, really great to see that the museum is keeping his spirit alive, and it's a wonderful, wonderful place. And I love that Morgan and her family are taking point, and they are keeping the family legacy up and running. So in my conversation with Morgan, we celebrate her father's life and legacy. She shares all kinds of amazing stories about how Jim's collection got started, what got him into Superman, and then how he kind of became like the defender of Superman historical artifacts. People were kind of just tossing this stuff. It was getting a lot of wear and tear because people weren't taking care of it. So he really started taking point on like, no, I gotta get this stuff so I can preserve it and make sure people can enjoy it and see it. We also talk about what it was like growing up with a dad who probably had a bigger toy collection than maybe anyone else Morgan's age at the time. And we also talk about the upcoming Superman Celebration, which is an annual celebration that takes place the second week in June. This year, June 13th to 15th in Metropolis, Illinois. She and I talk about that. I hope to see some of you there. I mean, I think anyone who's a Superman fan should be going to this if they can. We also talk a little bit about our hopes for celebrity guests. In the past, Tyler Hoechlin has come, Bitsy Tulloch, and Brandon Routh, amongst others. And I mean, this is going to be the month before the release of James Gunn's film. Is it too much to hope that he might be there? Maybe David Corenswet, Rachel Brosnahan, Nicholas Hoult. If you're listening, I know you're listening. But anyway, you can follow all information, all news regarding Superman Celebration on the website, which is supermancelebration.net. And make sure you're following the Super Museum on all social platforms. They're all over the place. So definitely make sure you're following them and keeping up to date. All right, let's go ahead. We'll get to it. If you like what you're hearing, please feel free to share far and wide with whoever you think might be interested. Thank you so much for your support. Let's go ahead and celebrate Superman with Morgan Siebert.
Now available to own on video cassette.
Well, first, I want to get it on the record that you're doing this on your birthday. So happy birthday.
Well,
I know
thank you.
said that to you already, but I'm saying it again because you've earned it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. My last year in my 30s.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
getting there. I'm 38 and this is
Yeah.
turning 39 in November. It's a
Oh, okay.
scary
Yeah.
time. It's a
Yeah.
scary time to be in your late 30s. It's always scary to think about crossing the threshold into the realm of
Yeah.
40.
Yeah, it's weird because crossing into 30 didn't seem like a big deal, but crossing into 40, it's like, oh, I better start lining up blood work and things like that.
It really does. It does feel like much more
Yeah.
pressure, but well, I hope it's been
Yeah.
wonderful so far. I hope it continues to be wonderful. I hope this
Yeah.
enriches your birthday, and does not
Yeah.
detract
Yeah. I
from
was
it.
looking forward to this. Yeah.
Yeah, likewise. Well,
Yeah. I
thank you
told
so
some friends
much.
I was doing this. So, yeah, it's fun. It's always fun whenever you get to do interviews and stuff like that and talk to people about what you do for a
Yeah.
living.
I mean, you have
Yeah.
a pretty awesome job. Not
Yeah.
many people get to say, like, oh, what do you do for a living? Oh, I run like the world's largest collection of Superman
Yeah.
memorabilia. Like, that's my dream job. Like,
Yeah.
other than maybe being Superman, I would want to be like, yeah, I just have like a huge collection of Superman stuff and people come to
Well,
look at it.
it's that, and you get to talk about movies and toys all day, and that's a lot of fun. And then you get to like connect with people about like parts of their childhood that maybe like they hadn't thought about for a while whenever they go through the museum. So
Yeah.
you hear a lot of stories, a lot of families come through, and
You were
things like
basically living the dream. So
that.
it's a
Yeah.
cool job to have. That's all
It is
I'm
really fun.
saying.
It's really
Yes.
rewarding. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to talk first and foremost about this wonderful museum because I have wanted to come visit my whole life. And
Yeah.
I finally got the chance just a couple of weeks ago. And
Okay. Cool.
I think you and your husband were out, but the gentleman who was kind of looking after the shop and the museum was Orwell, I think his name is.
Orville. Yeah. Yeah.
Orville. Yeah, I
Yeah.
knew it was. I was thinking George Orwell because I love 1984, but it's
Yeah.
Orville. That's
Well, I always think what is it, Orville Redenbacher or whatever the
oh yeah,
Oxford.
yes.
Yeah.
So, but he was great. Oh, that's oh my gosh. You should see if he can get like a tie-in and get some free popcorn. That would be amazing. But he
Yeah.
was great. I love. It was like it was something that I remember as a kid. They used to ask me like maybe when I was 10 or 11, like, where do you want, like, well, where's your dream location? And I was always like, oh, I want to go to Metropolis, Illinois, because that's the home of Superman and they have a statue in this amazing museum.
Yeah.
So now I'm a grown up and I'm in like, I'm near Atlanta.
Oh,
So
okay.
I did not realize that Southern Illinois is much closer than I thought it
Yeah,
was.
we're only
So
like 6 hours from Atlanta. It's not
exactly
too
six
far.
hours.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm taking a day trip. So over the holidays, I finally got to come visit. And it was
Yeah.
wonderful and lovely and everything I wanted out of a Superman museum to be. And
Yeah.
it was great finally getting to see it. And I'm only bummed that I didn't get to meet your father, who
Yeah.
sadly passed away in December. But I wanted to use this as an opportunity not only to celebrate Superman, but to celebrate Jim and talk about his life and his legacy. But I was wondering because I was kind of looking at like videos you guys had done together and a
Yeah.
panel at the Superman celebration a couple of years before, and I'd read some of the articles about your dad, and I was wondering what as far as his childhood and like early connection to Superman, I'm guessing he was probably watching the George Reeves show, or
Yeah.
was that his earliest thing?
Yeah, Adventures of Superman. And his first item was a lunchbox that my grandmother gave to him. He had a childhood illness when he was 5. And so I think that just the connection, like being in the hospital and being little and getting an item like that, it just really like resonated for him. And then that was extended, so they were bringing him comic books and things like that too to kind of cheer him up. And he just really got into it. By the time he was 9 or 10, he was charging kids a nickel to go in his room and see his collection. So he knew he wanted to run a business. He was a little entrepreneur, so
Oh, I
that was
love that.
always part of him too. Yeah.
Did the lunchbox make it to the museum?
Yes, and it's in pristine condition, like to think a 5-year-old kid had this lunchbox and didn't, run it down the side of a fence or
Yeah,
throw it in the air and beat it up in any way. It's in perfect shape. So
that's nuts because I can't maybe my first Superman item was a costume, one of those I don't even know what the material is, like vinyl
Oh yeah.
costumes. I had one of those with like a plastic mask that would break and the edges would scratch your face when you put it on.
Yeah, I had one of those, but it was a strawberry shortcake. So yeah,
So you know what I'm
very
talking about.
uncomfortable. Yeah.
Very uncomfortable. That was my first, but there was no perception. I was maybe about four, 3.5 or 4.
Yeah.
No perception of in my mind of like this is something I want to preserve and
No,
hold on
yeah, you
to.
were like, oh, this thing rips really easily.
Exactly.
Ooh, yeah.
How dirty can I get this thing?
Yeah.
How much wear and tear can I get out of this before it completely falls apart?
Yeah.
So that's amazing to have that level of
And to put
foresight.
you, yeah, you probably put the mask on your knees and broke. Yeah, I
Yes.
know. Yeah.
Exactly. So he was collecting Superman. And at what point did it start to get like, did he realize like I have a pretty sizable collection here and now this is becoming a thing? Like it's starting to
Um,
take over rooms in my house and maybe I might need
around
a
the age
couple
of
rooms.
yeah, around the age of 19, he ended up doing some newspaper articles where he was the person with the world's largest Superman collection, and then it just kept snowballing after that. Once he did that article, then people were like, "Oh, I had this little thing. I just thought I'd send it to you. You're a huge fan." And then we lived out in LA, so um, well, he did before I was born too, and he would go to comic shops. He was running his own company at a young age, and everywhere he'd stop, he would hit comic shops and yard sales. And then early on, he was part of San Diego Comic Con, one of the first, well, the first museum exhibit for San Diego Comic Con,
Oh
and
wow.
then a part of that group of guys that really put that together because it was growing at such a fast pace. They were using hotel rooms as vendor spaces. So that's why they had to build a convention center because that convention was growing so quickly.
When was that? What year was that?
Sometime in I think it was the early 70s. Yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
insane. How old was he when you were born?
I was born in 86, so I think it was like 31.
86, baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, we're living the dream,
Yeah.
living the dream.
Yeah.
Okay, so you and I are the same age and we
Yeah.
probably I'm curious because my parents of course they were my introduction to Superman but
Yeah.
not quite the same scenario as what you were living in and growing up with whereas
Yeah.
like they'd introduced me and then they kind of let me run off and I was the nerd representative of the family. I was the one bringing in all the merchandise and making my parents purchase this stuff for me. Your situation
So
was just a tad bit different.
it was very different. It was being surrounded by toys that you weren't allowed to play with, and mannequins in your dining room. And but then one day he brought home Superman arcade machine and a Superman pinball machine. So then I got to be the cool kid on the block that had the arcade machine and the pinball machine. And I was watching costume pieces come and go, and you're little, so you're like, oh, this must be normal. This is just what dads do.
Yeah, they collect
And
stuff.
yeah, but then I would watch other men his age come in and go, oh my God, I can't believe you have this thing, and they would all be nerding out over stuff, and I'd just be, watching. I was really into Peter Pan and
Mm.
Hook when I was little. So my dad never like tried to like force Superman on me. He was like, "Oh, you have your own little interests, and when we go comic book store shopping, I'm gonna pick up something you like." And we always just had collecting as kind of our bonding experience. But he had his things he collected, I had mine. So
I
he
love
always just
that.
kind of encouraged it and would tell me like, okay, keep this in the package and play with it in the box, and someday it's going to be worth a lot. And he was one of the first people that was like that. So um he was saving costume pieces before other people considered to save costume pieces.
Right.
Some of the George Reeves costume pieces ended up, you could check them out like a library book at Cal State Fullerton, and they were getting damaged that way. So my dad was part of rescuing this George Reeves costume. It had like 246 moth holes, something like that, and he was part of preserving costume pieces. So people weren't doing that with
I was going to say
collectibles at the time.
how do you
So
even like get into that? Like at that point he was a collector and a fan and he
yeah.
had his own business, but at what point did he start to feel like there's a legacy here that's kind of getting tarnished. I kind of want seems like
Yeah.
it was very much out of his passion and love for the character that he just
That's
started saying, like, let me fix this, let me help.
yeah.
And
Well, it's just finding out things like, you'd find out that things from Star Trek were being thrown away, and movie lots were just clearing space from their costume departments and just pitching things in the dumpster. I was just reading an article 2 days ago about Bruce the Shark from the tram ride at Universal Studios.
right.
They made three of them and destroyed two of them, and then one ended up at like a car dealership or something between two palm
That's
trees. So
so
you just
sad.
find out stuff about movie props and things that happened. And yeah, you got people like my dad that were like, wait, you got to preserve these things. They're historical artifacts. And people were like, TV isn't, a historical thing. It
Yeah.
wasn't at the time, but he treated it that way. And then you had, groups of people that were like, yes, that's it. And, Hollywood museums started, popping up
Yeah.
where, costume pieces were important all of a sudden. So now you got, Wizard of Oz shoes selling for millions and millions of dollars. And, that wasn't happening when my dad was collecting. He'd be like, oh, kid, you like that? You like Superman? Well, here's a costume.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's not a bad way to start a collection, to have people start handing you stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I wish people would just hand me Superman stuff on the regular.
Yeah.
Nobody ever does. I make sure everybody around me knows how much I love Superman, but people don't just hand me stuff. So maybe
I get
it's
stuff
the
still.
bygone
Yeah, it's
era.
fewer and far between. Now we do a lot of purchasing, but yeah,
Yeah.
back in the day, I think, people would come across stuff and give my dad a lot more stuff because they knew he was the Superman guy and he'd light up whenever he gets something new.
That's so cool. Was there ever a phase, because we all have our like teenage rebellion where we're kind of like, I want to do my own thing, or my parents are lame or anything like that. And I was thinking about, like, if I was in your shoes, because I love Superman so much, and it was really very
Mhm.
much in my family. Like, it was my
Yeah.
thing. Like, my parents loved Superman. My brother was a big Batman fan, I think, because at the time, my brother disliked me so much that he was
Yeah.
like, well, if he's gonna like
Well,
Superman, I'm gonna go for Batman.
exactly the
So
same. Yeah, actually
it,
exactly the same.
yeah,
When 89 Batman came out, I was really crazy about that, and my dad let me be crazy about that because he was also collecting other superheroes. So, but I would tell him, Batman is better than Superman. He's more interesting than Superman. He's a
how would he
human.
feel? How
You
would he
know,
feel? Were there moments of tense when he was like, you need to pack up and leave right now?
No, not in particular, no. But then it's not just that, it's which Superman is your favorite
Yeah.
Superman? Which one's the best, So I've I've watched a lot of grown men argue about Superman. And yeah, so you'll have the George Reeves fans, and then
No,
you have the Christopher Reeve fans, and now you got the Henry Cavill fans that are
no.
not willing to accept a new Superman movie
I
coming
know.
out.
I know.
You're
It's
just like,
great.
hey, it's just part of life. If they kept
Yeah,
Henry
welcome to
Cavill,
the
he'll be
club.
55 by the time they're done with this line of movies. It's
I
not really
know.
gonna, be that fun to watch, a near senior citizen play Superman. As great as he is,
I mean, Roger Moore was basically a senior citizen when he was James Bond. So
yeah.
maybe, I'm sure there will always be an
Well,
argument.
they could
Somebody
always
will
do
find.
they could do Kingdom Come or something like,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So at what point did you kind of turn around and say, like, all right, now I can appreciate this, and I am.
It just started really growing on me because like just watching the way that fans react to it and how emotionally important it is to people, and how you'd watch fathers and sons and just family bond over things. And we're not just like a Superman museum or a roadside attraction, so you're just watching people on their vacation time spend time together and bond over something
Mm,
together, and that's just a really beautiful thing. And getting to know a lot of like what we call the Metropolis Super Friends. It's a group of people that have been coming to the Superman celebration since we've been here, and they have like an internet community, and just bonding with those people, getting to know them over the years, and then learning more history is part of it. And it's just Superman's really important to American history too,
Mm,
not just, comics, but like we have our own American lure here with superheroes, and it's unique to, the world, that we have Superman and Wonder Woman and all the Marvel heroes, and then the rest of the world had, Greek gods and things
right.
like that.
Like
But we
King
have our
Arthur
own
and things like
lure
that.
here. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
you want to keep that alive, and it's cool to watch parents come in that maybe they came as a kid and now they're bringing their kids. I really love that because
Yeah.
when I was growing up here, I moved from LA to the country because Metropolis is more of a Smallville, and I get to run around barefoot and go play in creeks and stuff like that that you couldn't go do in LA, so it changed who I am.
Mm.
I'm more like being in my small town, and I'll go visit a big city, but I'm like, I just want to go home now.
Right. Right. I'm
Yeah.
kind of the same way. Atlanta has been the only city that I've really been like, oh, I actually like, there are lots of
Yeah.
trees. So it feels more
Yeah.
open. But when I'm in a
Okay.
city, it's like you're
Yeah.
surrounded by these tall buildings and you're kind of like, I can see the sky, but it's also, I feel sort of trapped here. So
But
I
then you sit in
totally,
traffic a little bit and you're like, wait a minute.
wait, hold on. I don't know how I feel about this. My understanding of Metropolis, the city of Metropolis, Illinois, and its history and connection to your dad was the city existed already. It
Yeah.
had the Superman statue was kind of its big appeal. Like that was what
Well,
they.
no, it being the only city with the fictional name Metropolis was the appeal, and then it became home of Superman in 1972,
Okay.
and then they built the fiberglass Superman statue that was here before that in 1986. We're both 86 babies.
Yeah.
And then that was getting shot at and things because it was made out of fiberglass. And so they're
Did
like,
you say
that's
it was
not going to
getting
work.
shot at?
Yeah, yeah. And it had bullet holes in it. And so
No.
also it was very ugly. So DC Comics was like, we don't really like that statue. It's not
Yeah.
a good representation. And so Bob Westerfield, who did the Amazing World of Superman, he saw my dad in these newspaper articles and on TV and stuff, and he started reaching out to him. And my dad started looking into Metropolis the year I was born. And then by 91, he was traveling back and forth and kind of visiting and seeing. And he wanted to get his family out of the city,
Mm.
and he wanted to do something different because he was doing a traveling museum with his Superman stuff. But when you travel with stuff and you take it out and put it back in, and it's wear and tear on your
Yeah.
stuff. And
And I
he's like, I
imagine that's
want to have a
exhausting.
location where I can always have my stuff displayed and people can come to me instead of me traveling. Because if you've ever known anyone that works the convention circuit, you
Mm.
pick up, you put your whole exhibit together to sell stuff, you put it all back, you go again, and you're doing that every weekend, and it's exhausting. You're traveling a lot. And he thought, if I could be somewhere where I don't have to do that, and I can create a environment where fans can come to me and we have like our own community, then that's what I want to do. And Metropolis just sounded perfect for that. And the goal always was to open a theme park here, and I haven't let that dream die. It's just it's a small town, centered between
Yeah.
Nashville and St. Louis. So it would take an act from DC Comics to make something like that happen.
I'll knock on wood. I'll keep my fingers
Yeah.
crossed because that would be the best thing ever.
It would, if you look into it, the Amazing World of Superman. It was all the sketches for the Superman theme park was all done by Neil Adams,
Oh
and
my gosh, how cool.
it's really cool.
I don't think
And
I'd
there's
heard
already a
about
concept for it. It's really cool.
yeah, I hadn't heard about the Amazing World of Superman until I'd heard you and your dad talk about it. And
Yeah,
I mean, I'm like, why not?
yeah,
Please, can I have this? I would love
yeah.
it. I was it hard for you moving from LA where you were young enough that it wasn't
Well,
a massive adjustment, but I
my
imagine it was still
parents
pretty
are
tough.
my parents are divorced, so I went back to LA every year for a couple months out of the year, and I would go stay with my mom and do all that California stuff, and then come back and get to do like all the Midwestern stuff. But we
Hmm.
have snow here and weather changes out there. The weather's the best, but the traffic and the amount of people is overwhelming.
Yeah, absolutely. So it wasn't too hard. Did you like
Yeah.
as a kid, I'm guessing, were you going to school in Illinois or were you
Yeah, I
going?
went to
Okay.
school and then I spent my summers in California. Yeah.
Gotcha. That's probably the
Yeah.
right way to do it. And then you get the seasons and stuff. That's
Yeah.
exciting. So,
Yeah.
what was the biggest difference? Like, what was the biggest you think?
Getting ready for school and there being a foot of snow and they didn't go to school.
So,
I walked to school, so yeah.
oh yeah, all right. So
Yeah.
you're going to be able to you can use that excuse with your kids. You can
Yeah.
say, "I
Well,
walked
they
to
cancel
school."
school if there's any snow at all nowadays.
Oh,
So we
I'm in
used to have to
Georgia.
watch the Weather Channel.
I'm in Georgia where if it flurries, they're
Yeah.
like cancel everything,
Yep.
stop, like
Yeah.
please, like
But
it's
now our kids have e-learning, so
right.
they don't even really get a proper
I
snow
know,
day.
isn't it sad?
Yeah, they're like, "Oh, get on the computer and you're going to be on there half the day."
No, I don't
Yeah.
approve of this. They should
No, I
be at
don't either.
home. They should be watching. I'm like, it's a snow day. I'm gonna watch Superman, and it's
Yeah.
like now my kid has to be like, I have to go learn, and I'm like,
Yeah.
great, have fun. I'm
Yeah.
gonna go do what we both should be doing right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the museum came in 91, 92. That's when it
And
was
well, we opened in 93. Yeah.
93. Okay, so that was a big year because that wasn't that when the death of Superman happened too?
Yeah, so they
Yeah.
had a Death of Superman ceremony here the first year we were here, and then the Superman statue, the new one. Well, I call it new. It's 32 years old now,
How nuts?
but
Yeah.
that came in June, and we showed up in March. So we had like 4 or 5 months to prepare, or 3 months to prepare, and I got to watch the unveiling of that, and my dad was part of the brick program, was his idea for that
Hmm.
statue, and it was a really cool year to be here because it felt like so much newness was happening, and then we were opening the museum and he was setting things up, and Lois and Clark was on TV,
That's
so
right.
it felt like Superman is everywhere, you know?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
Lois and Clark was the first thing I remember because well, Christopher Reeve was my first
yeah.
Superman. But Lois and Clark was the first thing that it was like, oh, it's new. Like there's
Mhm.
something new I can watch now. So I was,
And it was really fun and campy, so
yeah,
it was easy for kids to like it, you know?
exactly.
I watched Superman the movie on repeat because my dad was working helping with exhibits at Movieland Wax Museum in California. And so there was this room where they had the Fortress of Solitude like ice set up and a monitor, and you get to watch like a segment of the film. And I would just sit in there and wait for my dad and watch school groups come in, sit, watch this like 10 minutes and move on. And I would just sit there all day watching this rotation. But that was a very fun experience. I got to meet Elvira while there, and it was just, being around wax figures as a little kid is kind of, it's going to be memorable.
It's exciting, a little terrifying, but
Yeah, a little
mostly
terrifying.
exciting. And then
Yeah.
your dad, I did not realize that he was very close with Kirk Allen, who was the first live action Superman.
Yeah.
He played him in the original serial. This is before George Reeves.
Yeah,
So
he managed Kirk Allen for 15 years.
oh,
And
how
then
fun.
through that, he knew and helped Jack Larson, Noel Neal, and then he even booked some appearances for Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster as
Oh,
well.
how
So I
cool.
have, like, in my family photo albums, like my sister with Joe Shuster sitting at his booth at a convention, and I have lots of pictures of my mom used to dress up as Supergirl for the museum. I have lots of pictures of my mom holding Kirk Allen up by the scruff of his
Right.
shirt, and they were close too. And he was actually my dad's first man at his wedding.
That's
So who
amazing.
can say that the first Superman was
Not
the
many
first man?
people. Not many
Yeah,
people. No, that's an
yeah,
incredible thing. Again, no family photos with Siegel or Schuster on my end. So this
yeah,
is definitely something I
yeah.
admire and am impressed by. There was a lot of conversation about like just at the time, I think, did your dad know Joe and Jerry when they were kind of like struggling through the
When
industry.
they're,
They'd kind
yeah,
of been left behind by, because
yeah,
what happened was, just to let everyone listening know, basically Siegel and Schuster got screwed over by DC when they
yeah.
sold the rights. I mean, at the time, it was the 30s, they were kids, and it was
Yeah,
like, that's what you
17
did.
years old, and they sold the rights to their character for $147, I think it was. Just this week, their family is suing again. So
I saw the news. It's been an
I think they
unfortunate.
should just give them a percentage and be done with it, because I don't think their family should have to keep going after it.
Every
I
single time.
think
Yeah.
it's only fair. And honestly, if you do your history on that, Sonny Bono had changed a law and made it so that if you're a minor and something like that happened, you would be able to go after it. I think it's restitution.
Yeah.
Restitution. What is it?
You
Well,
know, it's
but it
that.
was Sonny Bono, because child stars and young adults were getting, basically robbed.
Yeah.
You know.
And so with this, it was basically like they saw no money from it at the time. And
Yeah.
then in the mid 70s, right around the time they started working on production for the first Superman film
And
by Donner.
yeah, Neil Adams really helped them get their name in the credits and things like that on Superman the movie, and that was a
Yeah.
really big deal. And then you got Noel Neal doing a cameo, and Kirk Allen in the
Yeah.
movie, and I think it's great whenever you see tributes like that. Like, I'm really looking forward to the next Superman movie because Will Reeves is going to be in it.
Yeah.
Reeve. And that's really cool to me,
It's great.
because, well, I don't know. He grew up to be a reporter. So that's really
Isn't
cool
that
to me
nuts?
too.
I mean,
Like,
that's amazing.
every time I tune into the news, I'm really distracted by just him being him, and
Yeah.
that this is what he's a reporter now,
Yeah.
you know.
I'm guessing, did you see the documentary about his dad?
Yeah,
That was
I
wonderful.
we were invited to a screening in Chicago, and that was the last family trip I took with my dad. Yeah.
Oh, that's so sweet. I'm glad he got to see that.
Yeah, and my daughter got to sit next to him because my dad was in a wheelchair,
Yeah.
and she was like, "Grandpa cried the whole time," and I'm like, "I cried the whole
I
time
mean,
too."
it sounds like everybody cries the whole time during this
Yeah,
movie,
yeah.
so
That
perfectly
movie's
normal.
very emotional, and I was my dad's caretaker at the end there, and for 6-8 years, and just watching Dana
Yeah.
and everything she went through, as well as the whole family. It's just like, this is a family that, they didn't let this destroy their family. This brought them closer together and made them have a deeper appreciation. So that documentary it extends past, being a Superman
Yeah.
fan. That is a documentary about a family overcoming a huge obstacle and sticking together,
Yeah.
and letting it strengthen them.
Yeah, it's a beautiful film. Do you have any particular favorite memories of whether it was the Superman celebration or doing something with your dad Superman related that really stand out to you? I'm sure there are plenty. Are there any that stand out as like particularly memorable or even like just ridiculous or insane where you're like, I can't
Um,
believe this happened?
I got to my dad used to host a banquet every year, every single year. And the year that Adam West was here, I got to sit with Adam West and Julie Newmar, and
Oh my
there's
God.
an auction during that. And I got to listen to him banter about, the auction and things like that, and just have dinner with Adam West, and
Oh
that
my
that really
God.
sticks out in my head. Um, uh Jack O'Halloran, who played Non in the Superman films,
Hmm.
he came for the Superman celebration when I was like 13 or 14, and he was like, I want to get out of here for a while and just kind of take a break.
Mm.
And he came over to my sister's house, and we all hung out away from the convention for a while. That sticks out in my head.
He
Um,
has lots of good stories about
Oh,
working on
he's
Superman.
full of stories.
He's got
He's
some of the
very
best I've heard.
fascinating. And he was here for the Superman celebration a couple of years ago.
Mhm.
The museum started doing guests, like we bring in, one or two if we can add to it, because the Chamber of Commerce is who puts on the Superman celebration.
Mm.
But Jack was our guest, and I decided I'm just going to sit with Jack this year and kind of do his handling position. And he told me stories, and he was talking about dating Jessica Lange, and that was fun because I loved her, and
Right.
Cape Fear and American Horror Story,
Yeah.
and Big Fish is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yes. Yeah,
It's
it's
cool to
great.
hear behind the scenes stories about her too. So yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Do you have any favorite items in this wonderful museum?
I like that we have, a couple items that were used by Marlon Brando, just because he's like one of the greatest actors of all
Yeah.
time. Definitely the Christopher Reeve suit is one of the coolest items in the museum, and getting to see like the flying harnesses and things like that. The flying pans are really interesting. George Reeves wore a muscle suit, so that's cool that we
Right.
have one of those because
Yeah.
uh, uh, well, it's always, they always talk about like physique now whenever they talk about new Superman movies, and always following how buff everyone gets and things. But George Reeves wore foam padding, so
Right.
yeah.
I love
I
it.
think Henry Cavill wore foam padding too. So
I'm
yeah.
sure the current actors, David Corenswet, Henry Cavill, whoever, would appreciate being able to rely on foam rather than having to adhere to
Well,
the
and his
strictest
costume
diets.
was
And
made out of wool too, so I can't imagine how hot and unbearable that
I
was.
know,
Sure.
I
Yeah.
know you're right. Yeah, I went through twice because I went through the first day I got there, and then I came back and I was like, I just need to go through. And it was so overwhelming the first time that I was like, I don't even know what's going on. And then the second time I was able to enjoy the museum a little bit more and really kind of like sit and look at all the
The
different
props that
pieces.
are made out of other things are really interesting to me. Like if you go in the Lois and Clark section, there was a really popular, it wasn't a Rubik's Cube, but like a light up toy, kind of like one of those sorry things.
Yeah,
But it was like a white light up toy that you had push buttons. And they used that just as a prop in Lois and Clark. And my dad got one, and just like at our local toy stores, like this is, the exact toy they use for that. So,
that's so funny.
um, yeah, we have a boot that was worn by Dean Cain in the pilot episode that has laces up the front, and that
Right.
was
That's
signed
right.
by Dean Cain and Lane Smith. So,
That
and
is
then
so cool.
yeah, just I love all the prop pieces and costume pieces. They're fascinating. And then one of my favorite other things is like our bootleg cabinet of like all the Mexican statues and
Right.
things that you go to Mexico, and they're making like clay statues and things.
Yeah,
So
and they're calling him like Power Guy, not
yeah.
Superman. And you're like, that's Superman. That's a ripoff.
One of the coolest ones of those is like it's a long box, and it has all these different action figures. It has like Superman, Spider-Man, the Hulk. It has a Power Ranger and all these things that don't go together. Like it's
Right.
completely unlicensed. And that's funny to me that someone was able to get away with that. But then I know the story that um they were doing that, and they brought them in through San Francisco, and they were all seized, so that it becomes like a really rare, strange bootleg with a backstory. And it's cool to have one of those.
Yeah. So what's gonna happen with the Superman Museum? It's gonna keep going. It's going
Yeah.
to do you have any hopes for what its future
My
might
my
be? And
hope is that we are able to just keep expanding, and that we'll be able to open up a second floor so we can display more, because what's on display is a lot, but it's only like a quarter of the collection if you were to like spread things out. We have a lot of scripts and things that have never, been displayed and showcased, and I'd love to be able to have more space to be able to do that. Yeah.
yeah, I was about to say you're about to get an influx of new merchandise as well.
New merchandise and new fans, because every generation has a Superman. So
Yes.
I like engaging with the new fans and finding out what they like about the new movie, and then seeing if they know the history of, the other films and the TV shows, and every one of those projects adds to the lure, like they add a new thing. So you wouldn't have Kryptonite if the voice actor on the radio show didn't want to go on vacation.
Right.
Every little thing adds to it.
I was going to ask you about Superman Celebration. It's happening in June, right?
Yeah, it's always the second weekend of June.
Okay. So
Yeah.
13th, I think the 13th?
13th through the 15th, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of people are booking their trips, and then hopefully in the next couple of weeks, the chamber starts making some announcements. I just talked to the co-chair, and yeah, we're just going over some celebrities that would be good options,
Yeah.
and making sure that we have contracts before we make any announcements on any of the guests. And
Sure.
there's things I want to do to memorialize my dad.
Yeah,
Over some of
absolutely.
that with her, and it'll be a fun year because we got a movie coming out, and I'd really love to see some people from the documentary that worked on that. I'd
That
really
would
love
be
to
great.
see some new actors from new projects.
I feel like I'm going to just put some good vibrations out into the universe in a year where we're getting an amazing new Superman movie that is honoring everything that has come before or seems to be. There's magic in the air for, I think, some wonderful people involved.
I think so too, and I'm really hoping that this year I'm able to go to a movie premiere because that's something
Yes.
my dad was able to do. He got to set up in the Daily News building, and he was a part of the premieres, and so I would like to be able to go to one in New York or LA or something.
That'd be so exciting for you. I'm going to
Yeah.
keep my fingers crossed for you as well. But I'm looking forward to Superman Celebration because I've never been to Superman Celebration before.
It's a lot of
So
fun.
I'm
Yeah,
very excited.
we have a tight-knit group of Superman fans that have been coming for years, and then new ones that come every year. And then you get the people that were just pulling off the side of the road and just happen upon this because they
Right?
wanted to see the Superman statue. So those are the people that they're looking around and their mouth is just dropped. They're like, "Is it like this all the time?"
Right.
Like, I wish partly, but
That would be amazing if it was.
yeah. Yeah.
But it's
Because it does feel like Disney World or something whenever you come during the Superman celebration.
oh,
When you come
definitely.
in the off season and you're the only one in the museum, then you get to experience it in a different way. But if you come during the Superman celebration, then you're going to overhear people telling you what something is in the museum, and it happens to me all the time because my dad was the historian, and
Yeah.
I'm not the expert, but I'll be in there with somebody different, and they'll be like, "Oh, this was actually manufactured by this company, and they also made this," and they'll tell you like the whole history of the company and representing different products they made, and the Superman peanut butter is very fascinating. My husband kind of obsesses over that.
Has anyone tried the Superman peanut butter? Has anyone been brave
I
enough to try?
I did as a kid, and I tried the pretzels, but I wouldn't try them now. And I got a lot of Superman vitamins growing up, so I'm pretty
I
strong
think I
from
might
that.
have. I think I had Flintstone. I would have, if I had seen Superman vitamins, I would have demanded them. So I'm sure I got those as well at some point.
Well, yeah, my dad made sure we had a lot of Superman vitamins, and he actually was like, "Go through these," and so I think I ate too many of them.
But it clearly has contributed to, like, you've grown up, you're
Yeah,
well, you're healthy.
right.
So a
Yeah,
Superman, the
never
vitamins had
had
something to
any
do with it.
major health issues, and I'm gonna say
Exactly.
it was the Superman vitamins.
Something magical in those vitamins. So for
Yeah.
sure. Well, I
Yeah.
am very much looking forward to this celebration. I am so happy to see the museum doing well and continuing your dad's legacy. Seems like a amazing human being, and
Yeah.
I love that this exists, and that even though I didn't get to meet him, I feel that spirit and his love through the stories I've heard from, whether it's you or fans or other people who've had association with him. So
Yeah.
very, very
He,
happy
he
this is still
left an
going.
impact on a lot of people, and yeah, I mean, him passing is very sad and hard, but like hearing some of the stories where he did good things for people, or somebody came through and he was sharing stories with them, and one guy in particular was talking about how he had the Avon brush as a kid, and my dad goes, "Oh, you mean this one?" And he showed him his set of several Avon brushes, and the guy would say, "Yes, that was my favorite thing." And then my dad just goes, "Here you go, have one." And he just
Yeah.
gave him one.
Yeah.
And that guy, that's that's the memory he has of the experience with my dad, and that's who he was to a lot of people, and I watched him do that often, and uh I try to do that in my life as much
Yeah.
as I can, because we don't just run the Super Museum, we have a second toy store. So whenever you can connect people to like a part of their childhood, a more innocent time, it's always like a very happy experience both ways that you've found the toy for that person.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my life right now, is just scouring eBay and trying to find any Superman items from my childhood that I used to have and
Yeah.
repurchasing. It's
Yeah.
amazing. I feel like our generation in particular has, I don't know
I
if
think
that's
we have a
like,
lot of nostalgia for, yeah, a
yes,
simpler time before cell phones when, yeah, we weren't iPad kids. We were TV kids, but we weren't
yes,
iPad kids, you know.
for
So-
sure. It's also why all these companies are getting all of our money still, because they
oh,
know
they're
how
getting
to,
so much.
they know
Todd
exactly.
McFarlane won't stop.
I know, I know. I just pre-ordered the Max Flesher Superman that
Yeah. I
so
just, yeah, I
it's
just saw that the other day and I was like, oh, you know. And then Adam, my husband, he was trying to complete everything and he
yeah,
was buying every McFarlane. He's like, we're gonna have to have them all. And now it's like, there's too many.
there's too many of them.
Let's scale back down to just Superman. So now we're selling some of our McFarlanes so that we can get the new Superman figure.
Right. Yeah.
And
I've
then I always say I'm not really big on Funko Pops, but then they just released Superman in the Fortress of Solitude. I'm like, well, that
I
one's really
know.
cool.
I got
And then they're doing the Gene Hackman, and I'm like, oh, I gotta have
I
that.
know. I bought the you had the giant Superman Funko Pop, and
Yes.
I bought that from your
Oh,
shop.
cool.
So
Yeah.
thank you for that.
Thank
It
you.
is I'm still looking for a spot. The museum has inspired me because I have so much none of it is in this room. This is just our books, and
Yeah.
you sadly do not get to see the collection that I
So you
is
have a
basic
Superman
it's
room?
basically just piles of Superman all around our house that now, having been inspired by the museum, I'm like, I've got to
See,
redo
and
my
I get
office.
inspired by collectors because they find creative ways to display things. And I was just telling someone else in an interview a couple weeks ago that, you know, every time I see like milk crates stacked on their sides and stuff, I'm like, yes, that reminds me of my dad's Superman room before we
Right?
opened the museum. And where he had all his Mego figures, where I went to go play with them with my Barbies and broke boots and you know, I don't know. He a lot of the collection that's in our archives is still, you know, displayed like that.
Mm,
And I don't know, there's just something special about milk crates on their sides as shelves to me.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Well,
And I don't want to lose that charm in the museum. And people might say, you know, oh, it's not displayed like a real museum, but it's a roadside attraction museum. It's a family museum and it's displayed properly for
I
our
I think
family.
so. I think, what I loved about it was there are areas where things are given prominent, respectful displays. Like you
Yeah.
said, the Christopher Reeve stuff, there are sections, but I also love that there is a hodgepodge collector's vibe to it, where you will
Yeah.
just turn a corner and it's piles of action figures, like just
Yeah.
from different
Well,
walks
my
of
dad
life.
took
And
like zip ties and zip tied a bunch of wallets to like a magazine rack and they're all, you know, like tightly zip tied together and then like
yeah,
belt buckles and his watches are displayed like that and um in our storage he bought a bunch of like lockers from a elementary school and he's got things organized in like lockers and I don't know.
I love that.
There's
I love
something
that.
comforting about it. I don't
Well,
know.
yeah, it gives it an organic. It's a
Mhm.
homegrown business, and it gives it
Yeah.
that organic, homegrown feel, and that's what Superman is really. I think
Mhm.
when Superman is done wrong or done dirty by whoever is controlling him, it's because they forget that he is just that kind of homegrown, all shucks, kind of like
Yeah.
humble person. And the museum exudes that. It is a fun and exciting place. And I love that aesthetic. I love that it feels organic. It's not sterile. And I love the way it's set up. So
Thank you.
I give my seal of approval. And if
Thank you.
anyone complains, you can tell them that Shawn Eastridge in Atlanta, Georgia will have words with them.
Yeah, I want to tell people that whenever they do complain, because I think it's done really well, and I think that just the creative ways my dad came up with displaying things when maybe you can't afford display cases, but you're very creative still. It's just, I don't know, just
I love it.
something American about it.
I
And
love I love it. I love it so much. Well, it is a part of Superman's legacy. You get
yeah,
to be a part of that. He gets to be a part of that forever and ever, which is a wonderful thing. So
yeah.
I'm so
He's
glad that
featured in a lot of Superman books, and it's
yeah.
really cool to pick up a book and go, oh, this mentions my dad in it.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's I this is a crucial piece of the lore and the legend, and I love that it is staying in the family, and I love that you are taking up the reins and being a part of it. So
yeah.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Because
Yeah.
I've wanted to visit.
I would never want to let fans down.
Yeah.
It's a special place to a lot of people, and it's a special place to me. Like I grew up in an apartment above the museum here, so this was my home too. And I got to renovate the gift shop a couple years ago, 4 years ago. We completely gutted it. It was all knob and tube, and me and my husband worked very hard to make improvements. I came up with the color scheme for the outside of the building. I wanted it to look like a a comic scene. I'm a graphic designer, so that's like looks and
It's
feel of
important.
things. It all matters to me.
That's
So I
perfect.
hope people love it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I do. I look, I tell everybody, I'm meeting more Superman fans now as I'm
Yeah.
talking to more people, but I tell everybody that I'm the biggest Superman fan that I know. And so when people like complain about like, oh, like you said, Henry Cavill, like, where's Henry Cavill, David Cornsweet, da da da. I'm like, look, I think David Cornsweet looks amazing. I think the movie looks amazing. If I, as the biggest Superman fan in the state of Georgia, approve, then nobody can
Yeah.
complain. And that's my feeling about the Super Museum. If anyone complains, they're just flat out wrong because me, as the
Yeah.
biggest Superman fan I know, loves it. So
That's how
it's,
I feel about it. It's really honestly, it's hard to respond to reviews because I'm like, I love it. I'm happy. But I don't
yeah,
know
yeah.
what
Well,
to yeah.
everyone,
And all the
th-
fans, the diehard fans love it too. Yeah.
it's wonderful and we
Yeah.
all love it and that's what matters and people are still coming and discovering it and we'll continue
Yeah.
to discover it for years and years and years.
Yeah.
So
And the impact it's had on our town too, like my dad bringing his collection to this town, it really changed what this town represents. My dad was part of well, the first thing he did was the Action Comics mural. And that building was sadly was hit by straight winds, and it knocked down half the building.
oh
And so
no.
last year I was able to paint it myself, a new one of the
You
same
did you
mural.
did that mural?
Hmm.
That's amazing.
And then I just painted the Welcome to Metropolis sign. And so,
Wow,
like, I'm
look at
getting to
you.
restore pieces
You need
of the
to
town. Yeah.
pat yourself on the back just a little bit more because I didn't know you'd drawn those. I thought like,
Yeah.
oh, maybe they commissioned an artist to come in and do that.
Yeah. I
That's
did I
amazing.
did 3 murals in 3 years. So I did also the Greetings from Metropolis mural too.
That's
And then my
incredible.
dad was a part of the Daily Planet building, the Globe.
Yeah.
That was like a tie-off for a barge. And he saw it and he thought, oh, that's the Daily Planet Globe. And he had the welding department at our local community college, Shawnee Community College, weld a Saturn ring on it and write Metropolis Planet on it. And then, or yeah, planet on it. And then he was a part of the Lois Lane
Is that
statue.
I was gonna say, is that the Daily Planet in front of Lois
Yeah.
Lane, the
Well,
Noel Neal?
it stood in front of our newspaper office, which our newspaper is the Metropolis Planet. My
Oh, I
dad
love
always
that.
joked that they call it the Metropolis Planet because we don't have enough news in a small town to be a daily paper. Yeah.
Right.
Well, that was his joke he always had with that. Yeah.
I love that. Well, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
hanging out. Tell the good people at home the Super Museum is on social media. So where can they find all the information about this museum?
Our website is supermuseum.com, and then on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, it's all at Superman Museum. and you can find us there. And we're very active online, and we like to share videos and stories. And yeah, I'm doing mural work. I was just asked by the city if I could maybe come up with some designs for some crosswalks.
Oh,
So
awesome.
hopefully
Do
I
you
have
do you
something.
have an art page?
I don't have an art page, no.
You
Yeah.
should make one. It sounds like you've done enough that like you
Yeah.
should get the word out.
Yeah. I just want to do stuff in Metropolis though,
Yeah,
so yeah, I can't really leave town very much. I don't like to leave and go too far away from the collection.
sure.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, this has been wonderful. Thank you. I'm so
Thank
excited
you.
for Superman Celebration. And I'm guessing, obviously the date has been set June 13th to 15th of this
Yeah.
year. There will be more information at supermancelebration.net. Is that the website?
Yeah, that's the website.
Okay, great.
And you can check our social media page. We usually do a very good job at helping promote that. And then I do graphic design work for the celebration. That's part of my Metropolis Chamber volunteer work I do. So I usually help make ads, and then the program book I did last year. So that's it's we'll have celebrity guests, I'm sure. We'll have artists, I'm sure. We're just waiting to make announcements. So you got to have signed contracts before you.
Start saying anything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm very, very excited. Thank you so much, Morgan, for hanging out. I appreciate it. Thanks for celebrating Superman with me.